for the record, you do not have to give your address.
Good evening. Chad Stubenbort, resident of Monroeville. I just wanted to address a few points that were brought up in your opening remarks, Greg Arasenko. So,
Sure.
It was stated that we turned down the SRO. We came and I basically begged at several meetings that we reconsider and look at $50,000. There was some heated exchanges there, so I think most of you should remember those exchanges. So we did request to have the SRO actually part of our budget. We just requested the school district's portion go from $75,000 to $50,000 without a 5-year contract, which was requested from the municipality.
And we did counter to give you $10,000, and you turned us down.
Now, wait a while, Linda. I have a little more information
Okay,
that
I just-
everybody in LPOA. Let him.
He never states
I'll
that
respond
point.
after he's done.
Okay. As far as the whole incident that occurred, I just want to kind of give our side. I feel like that got lost today.
Oh, you made it perfectly clear on TV how you felt.
Well, I think the news media did a good job of coverage then.
I watched you, what you said.
I said I think they did a good job of coverage. We had an incident at the school. As you know, Judge Manning, I do want to thank the district attorney, Steve Zappala, and Judge Manning, both for supporting the petition that was signed by Judge Manning. With that, we do have the power to carry firearms, to detain, and to issue up to summary offenses. The law says that we could go above and beyond that. We stuck with summary offenses. In order to issue a summary offense, you have to have an ORI number, an originating agency number. That is a process to go through the state. So we have applied for that, and the Commonwealth has told us it's going to take 3 to 5 weeks until we actually receive that number. So until we receive that number, we can't issue the citations. With that being said, we called the Monroeville Police Department, which it is within jurisdiction. Monroeville Police Department responded, 2 individuals responded. They did watch the video there at the school. They actually started to interview students at the school. I know this because we
Our
had...
police department did.
Yes, your police department did.
It's not my understanding, but go ahead.
Well, and that's why I think if the stories are misconstrued, I think maybe an internal investigation is needed. So they did watch the video. They actually started to interview students, and then a lieutenant came in and told the other 2 officers that had responded that they're not issuing citations. Gateway has their own police department. That's the information. I was not there, just as
I was
none
not
of us
there
were
either.
So that's the information that was passed down from the superintendent, from the principal, and from our supervisor of police. So I did want you guys to at least hear that side of the story. Where the truth is, I'll let you guys decide. As far as never wanting to do a meet and greet, I do have, if anyone wants them, several requests via email for our supervisor and for the chief of police to sit down. We had one meeting, I believe, Tom, you were at the meeting. We had one meeting here at the municipal building, actually in the TRICOG office, with an intergovernmental meeting of the sorts. However, it was requested that we do not have the chief of police here and that we did not have the supervisor from Gateway Police there. We've been asking for the meeting, so if we're willing to move forward with that meeting, thank you. It's much needed and much appreciated, so I do appreciate you guys moving forward with that. As far as the game of politics, unfortunately we are all labeled as politicians, I suppose, of sorts. We can't allow any type of political gains get in the way of public safety. So I hope, and I really do believe that is everyone's belief up here. That public safety is the #1 priority. I just ask that happens. When we said, incidents, sometimes it takes longer to issue citations. I was actually just looking at the Monroeville Police Department's Facebook page today, and it described an event the day after Christmas where there was a fight. And it clearly states there were 4 individuals that got into a small fight. They were arrested, and they were issued disorderly conduct citations. I believe that was all we were asking, was for similar. I'm not a police officer. I can't speak to those. But that is all I believe that they were looking for there. So I look forward to working with everyone. I hope that the Monroeville Police Department and our police department can get over, get over these hurdles. we've obviously had some dissension on several issues, whether it be the firing range, whether it be calling a meeting of the minds, whether it be employing an SRO or not employing an SRO, employing an SRO from an outside borough or not employing. We need to get over that. Both you and I, this isn't a blame game. So I hope that everyone can move past this, and honestly, for the community's sake, we need to move on. I know you said crime is down. If you ask the general public, their perception is different. The number of shootings is definitely increased. Maybe homicides are down, but the number of shooting incidents is definitely increased.
What I gave you are facts.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. The homicides, obviously, there were none last year. But I just ask that we can work together. That's really all I have for you guys. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than...
No, I want to respond. I don't want you to leave. I want to respond to the SRO issue. If you remember, you said that, and you're correct, you wanted us to get down to 50,000.
Correct.
We actually took it down to 35,000. And let's just talk about the officer from Pitcairn. Yeah, there is an issue with that. And as a matter of fact, and Doug, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. Our union is considering filing an injunction because technically he's not supposed to be here. We have not raised that issue. If you recall, we raised our response. We were going to give you 10,000 more, and I stated very clearly, if you send the Pitcairn officer back to Pitcairn where he belongs, that's another 30,000 off of your bill. So in other words, you went from 75 to 65 to 35,000. That was not acceptable. And that was politics involved in that. Let's talk about the summary offense and and I agree. Your folks definitely need to get their approval from ORI. I agree with that 100%. But again, you're using the mall and why we issued the summary offenses there. Our officers were involved in the fight. They were there. They had to restrain them. They did whatever they needed to do, and certainly they were cited. Their parents were called, and end of that story. When, again, as I'll state it again, when our officers got to the school, there was no fight. Now, you gave me information, I won't speak for counsel, but you're saying our lieutenant came in and said, we're not issuing summary offenses. Well, that's not the story that Doug and I got from our officers. But you're right, there's a truth somewhere in the middle, and I wasn't there, and you wasn't there, so we agree on that. As far as the political games, I would hope we would never play political games with public safety. Dear God in heaven, we live in a crazy world. We don't need to be fighting with each other or even arguing. That's why, again, I hope that we start picking up the intergovernmental cooperation meetings regularly and routinely, because it's that serious, I think, in 2017. And not just because it's Monroeville's bad, it's just the world's a little bit crazier right now. There doesn't have no reason for us not to have a game plan to keep. So I appreciate your comments. I hope we can work together. That's the goal. It's always been our goal. From myself as mayor and every member up here at the council, as well as our department.
Okay.
So thank you for your time.
Very good. The only thing I would like to clarify, you had said if we fired the Pitcairn SRO, it would go down to 35,000. If we fired the Pitcairn officer, we would obviously have to hire an additional 2 police officers. So it's not a give or take. So I did just want to clarify that. And the reason the Pitcairn SRO came to fruition was the municipality offered us an SRO. I won't go as to why, but offered us an SRO over at the junior high for free. After 6 months of employment for free over at the junior high, we were then said, okay, you have a choice. Do you want the SRO, or do you want and pay $75,000 for the individual, or do you not want the SRO? At that point in time, we've already elevated our security. Personnel in the building, parents had become familiar with that. You remember that was one of the first intergovernmental meetings we had, and we discussed it, and you guys said we can't go down on the price. And Chief Forelli from the Pitcairn Police Department was actually at that meeting, stood up and said that they could offer us an officer for $30,000 to $35,000. So that's the history behind it. Again, I don't want to go into detail. We can talk it.
Well, again,
at
I
length
think
if
any
we would want
issues
to.
that we have, we should do it in the intergovernmental. And I want to thank Scotty and I want to thank Val for wanting to set this up, because that's where the discussion should go. And I'm a little bit embarrassed that we're doing this publicly, but
Well, I
It
think
had
the
to come out,
I think the public deserves for it to be public.
and I definitely agree with that.
Okay, so I guess the only thing I would ask is, if we can just look into the whole issue that occurred at the school, if there was any type of
Again, like I said,
insubordinance, that we look into that
Chad,
and hopefully that's
it's
resolved.
going to be under investigation
Very good.
when your department, your police department, gives us the requested information. I do not know if they gave it or not. Again, I don't get involved in the everyday activities of our police department. That is certainly the chief's preview with our officers.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave it open for public